Greetings and salutations. It is the Jerry Kramer episode. I prefer, actually, Jerry Kramer's not bad because that's half of Seinfeld. Even though he was a lineman that was number 64. And this is episode number 64 of the incredibly creatively and appropriately named, now charitably award-winning Query and Schultz program here on ISC Sports Network. I am Jake Query, and that is the flannel and lumberjack-looking Derek Schultz.
Nice and toasty on this dreadful day in central Indiana.
Here's an insider tip for you folks behind the curtain. Nice and toasty, Derek says, while wearing his flannel shirt. I walked into this studio where Derek spends a lot of his time during the course of the week, and it was 61 degrees.
Yep. Got to save on that heating bill. You can always add more layers, so there's no reason to have it higher. It was at 63. You were exaggerating. There's no reason to have it higher than that.
It's freezing, and I saw my own breath.
I have a Snuggie. Do you want to wear it?
No. The last time I saw you in a Snuggie, you were cradling a Lime-A-Rita at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway being mocked by the entire Coke lot.
Everybody thought it was really cool. It was an IU basketball Snuggie. It's actually really soft and comfy and super duper warm.
There's no one that thought it was cool, and I was mortified for you. You might as well have been wearing like a strawberry shortcake Snuggie.
Then again, I had about 4 Lime-A-Ritas, and that was keeping me pretty warm, if you know what I'm saying.
Okay. Yeah, you were crushing them against your forehead when I got there. It was rather
Look, what happens in the Coke lot stays in the Coke lot.
You don't even stay in the Coke lot. You're across the street from it.
Oh, it got real chilly at night, so yeah, I ended up driving home. I sobered up and drove home. Sorry, I wanted to preface by saying that because I did have 4 Lime-A-Ritas over the course of the afternoon/evening.
Okay. Over the course of the afternoon on the weekend, the Colts took care of the Houston Texans. And, Derek, here's what I like in this, too. I'm going to present a scene that I want you to go into the mind of Derek Schultz and imagine. We're going to go into an imaginary world, okay? It's a February Saturday.
Okay.
Mid-February. Your wife is working, and your parents wanted to take your son to the Children's Museum, so you're just home alone. It's 34 degrees and raining outside, and it's gray, and the sun never really comes up. Gets dark by like 5:30. You lay on the couch like all day, and you're flipping the channels, and the Goonies is on. You watch a little of that, and then you flip over, and like some Big 12 basketball games on. Kansas is at Missouri, and even though they're not Big 12, and you watch that for a little bit.
I still think of that as a Big 12 game, too.
And then about 6 o'clock, you think, I probably ought to do something. So you get up, you go get something to eat, come back, everybody gets back around 9 or 10 o'clock or whatever at night. And you think to yourself, wasn't a bad day. But there's not a single thing from today that I'm going to remember like in a year.
Yeah, that was that game on Sunday.
That was that game,
That
right?
was that game. But, it's a division game. It's a road game. So
Understood.
You take it, and you win big. And we keep talking about this. Like, one of the themes of the Colts this year is, well, who have they beaten? They're 1-9 in their last 10 games against playoff teams. Derp. Generally speaking, I'm just saying generally, the sign of a good team is to savagely dunk on bad teams.
Right.
And that's what the Colts have been doing.
I would agree that I think they showed kind of steps in 2 areas. Number one, exactly what you're talking about. They dunked on a bad team. Number 2, and more importantly, they didn't have a letdown. And, Derek, they came out of it unscathed from an injury standpoint. To me, that's the win right there.
Yeah, because there was nothing that was to be learned about the Colts against
Texans,
an opponent. They're the worst team in the NFL. They're the worst offense that I can remember.
Terrible.
I mean, that game yesterday, I've got some of the stats here. Offensively, obviously they had no points, right? First shutout for the Colts in 3 years since they did it to Dak Prescott and the Cowboys. Lost 2 turnovers, 141 total yards. They had 2.8 YPP.
YPP?
Yeah, yards per play.
Okay.
So 2.8 YIP. I mean, that is just that's a crazy low YIP.
I don't think anybody says yip. You already did a derpy derp. Let's
No, derp is just a saying. Like yip is an NFL term.
It doesn't even make sense because it's YPP. It's not YIPP.
Yeah, but there's the y in the Y and then p, with the two-piece.
You know,
Sorry if that popped the microphone there, Jordan.
being a
We need like a splash guard on this thing.
you have it. It's called a windscreen. Being someone of a smaller stature, you should probably limit the number of times you're saying things like yip yap.
I'm trying to help you because you're kind of back in it now. Like, you're like Jake Query, respected sports radio analyst now. So here you go. You can borrow this term. And look, you have two options. You can either sound dumb or you can sound smart. So if you want to sound smart, take yip and use it on the show. And then people will be like, there's a smart guy. I want to listen to him every morning. I'll let you have it. I won't even get mad about it. I won't even get mad.
At 8 o'clock in the morning, when I'm doing a radio show with Kevin Bowen on 93.5, 107.5, The Fan in Indianapolis, thank you. There's nobody that is going to be saying to themselves, it's 7:30, this guy's yipping and yapping, and I enjoy it.
Kevin's a smart guy. He knows exactly what yip. I've heard Kevin say yip, I think, a couple times on the air.
Okay.
Before you. That predates you. Because I don't listen as much anymore.
I believe that. 100% believe that. If you had to pick any negative or anything to take away from this game that the Colts need to improve upon or that's of concern, is there anything?
I still think that we're really nitpicking here, right? It's 31 donut, so there's not a whole lot to say. I mean, in a game, if a game's 31 donut, chances are things went pretty well, and things went pretty well for the Colts yesterday.
It's just 31-zip, 31-0. You can maybe get away with 31 love.
Yeah, 31 donut, 31 love. That's tennis.
Okay.
That sounds weird. But anyway, you kind of got me off track with that love remark. That doesn't really fit what we're talking about. I thought that there were several opportunities to really land the knockout blow early, and they didn't. Remember, that was a 7-0 game after the first quarter.
It was. I mean, I will say it was kind of slow to get.
Yeah.
I'm sitting there
even
thinking.
At half, it's 14-0, and you're like, this game should be 24, 28-0 at this point. And you could get away with it on Sunday because the Texans are that bad. You're not always able to kind of get away with that. I found it interesting that clearly the Texans' game plan was similar to Tampa Bay, where they just said, we're going to try to not let Jonathan Taylor beat us. And the Colts just ran right into it. Overall, the numbers look great. 143 yards, right? 2 tuds. He's got 18 tuds on the year, 16 rush. But 4-point whatever yards per carry, that's pretty low, YPC.
Is it yip?
Excuse me?
Is it yip?
Do you have the hiccups? What's wrong? What are you doing? What's wrong with you?
Yards per carry. You're Mr. Yip.
No, you could say YPC, I guess, but there's not like really like a shortening of that.
Well, then why would there be shortening of yards per play?
Well, people have done that before. Again, Jake, like, I'm trying to help you. Do you want me to help you? Okay. I'm trying to help you be a smarter football guy. And YPP, yip, is a fairly common term. Like, everybody knows what I'm discussing. Yards per carry is just, I mean, I guess you could say YPC, but that's 3 syllables. You're not really shortening it that much on there. I did find it hilarious. I shouldn't say hilarious because that means that I'm like rooting for him to fail. I'm not. Jonathan Taylor's great. I love Jonathan Taylor.
Right.
Nobody disputes that he's great. But that fumble, gave me a little bit of a smirk for the rest of that game because people were insistent. Well, you have to run the ball against Tampa because there's no chance of a turnover. Yeah, there's always a chance of a turnover, regardless of what you're doing. Players make mistakes all the time. And Eric Fisher made a mistake last week in blowing a block. Zach Pascal made a mistake in dropping, fumbling the ball. Michael Pittman made a mistake in not fighting for an interception. Naheem Hines made a mistake in not catching a punt, and Jonathan Taylor made a mistake yesterday coughing up the Colts' only turnover.
Well, listen,
so it happens.
Jonathan Taylor has been spectacular, though, to your point. He is now the NFL rushing leader by a long way over Joe Mixon of Cincinnati.
It's like 350 yards now, right?
Right, with just one more carry, 209 to 208. He is the youngest player in the history of the NFL to score a touchdown in 10 consecutive games. That eclipses the previous record from Eric Dickerson, who did it either as a rookie or second year for the Rams. He is clearly their go-to guy. But that has freed up for really good quarterbacking play out of Carson Wentz as well. And there was a lot of discussion a couple of weeks ago with the Colts on Carson Wentz of, hey, if they're not going to make the playoffs, do you shelf him to preserve that first-round pick? Bottom line, Derek, first-round pick is out the window. That's going to go to Philadelphia as part of this Carson Wentz trade. But I think at this point you would safely say it is worth it because Carson Wentz, to me, has passed the test. He is not a stopgap. He is the guy you're going to ride out at quarterback.
I'm not ready to say that he's absolutely the guy. I'm ready to say the trade was worth it, if you want me to say that.
But if he's not the guy, then who is?
I don't know. I'm ready to say the trade was worth it.
Well, okay.
How about that?
If he's not the guy, then whoever the guy is, you are acquiring one of two ways. Either number one, because you are starting over again and drafting a young player, or number two, because you're making another trade for a quarterback. I mean, the odds of getting somebody through a free agency is slim to none. So he's got to be the guy by default, right?
To me, this was a very much an evaluation year for him, which is not over, but it's 3/4 of the way over, essentially. It's 17 games now, so you can't even say quarters anymore, which is stupid. I think the trade was worth it. What you've gotten out of Carson Wentz equals the compensation of what the Eagles are going to get,
right.
A number 1 and a number 3. He's been good, Jake. He's been fine. Like, we spent so much time talking about the extremes where some people were saying, well, he's going to get back to MVP form like he was in 2017. And then you had people saying, last year he's the worst quarterback in the league, and he's broken. He's not either of those things. The most likely outcome was that Carson Wentz was going to be the 2018-2019 version of Carson Wentz. And look at the numbers. Essentially, that's exactly what he's been. And that's good. That's top 10 to 15 level
I think
quarterback.
That's right. I mean, 10 to 12, right?
Yeah.
Okay, we've done this before, but we're going to do it again.
How many quarterbacks are taking over?
Some of the quarterbacks that are definitively better quarterbacks right now in the NFL than
I'm going to bring up a list here because I don't want to miss anybody or, get it wrong.
Okay.
All right, that I would absolutely take over him right now to win a 2021 Super Bowl. Is that what you're asking me?
Let's say a 2022 Super Bowl.
Well, can I still include Brady in that mix?
Yeah.
I don't know, but 2022, I guess. Herbert in L.A. I mean, I think they would have had to give up more, so it probably worked out a little bit better because I don't think the gap is too wide, but I still view Matthew Stafford as a superior player.
Okay.
Definitively, I don't know. Kyler, I would. Healthy Kyler.
Kyler Murray, I would agree.
A healthy Aaron Rodgers.
I'd agree.
Josh Allen has been a little bit up and down, but the upside is still, I think, much higher than Wentz, who I think kind of is who he is at this point. Mahomes, even though he has struggled this year.
I can think of a few you're missing here.
God, Lamar Jackson has had a weird year.
He's pretty talented.
But the track record is there. I mean, gun to my head, I think I'd still take Lamar, I think.
Right.
You're getting into, like, the Joe Burrow, like, are we ready to go there yet?
But
category?
Burrow's young enough. He looks pretty good.
I'm just trying to think. I'm just
but right
looking
there.
at a list.
So right there,
yeah.
the 1, 2, 3, 4,
What
5,
are we at,
6, 7,
9?
8, 9. Yeah, so
10?
you're looking 10 to
Yeah.
12, right?
Yeah.
He's realistically 10 to 12.
Because then you're getting into, like, Mac Jones and, Tannehill's taking a little bit of a step back. Derek Carr, I think, is kind of a comparable player, don't you?
It's fair.
You've always liked Derek Carr.
I do like Derek Carr. I think he's a good leader. I think he's an accurate passer. But
he's fine. He's a pretty good NFL quarterback. I've
Carr,
never disputed otherwise.
Derek Carr is a good segue, Derek, in terms of, the Raiders yesterday. The Raiders were the one hiccup, not hiccup, the one good thing that happened.
The only helpful thing.
Yeah, right. If you look at, because the way you look at it now in the AFC is you're scoreboard watching a little bit to see what everybody else is doing. And in doing that, the Colts did get good news yesterday to an extent with the Raiders losing. The Chargers beating the Bengals does not help the Colts. The Colts
the Steelers winning doesn't help.
The Steelers winning doesn't help because the Steelers have a tie, which is one fewer loss, right? One. But having said that, the Bills and the Patriots, which around the time that this is airing, that you're watching this, either it already happened or it's about to happen. The Bills and the Patriots, the Colts need Buffalo to lose that game because they want Buffalo in the wild card party with them because they have the invitation that Buffalo doesn't have. They have the tiebreaker.
Whereas they don't have that with New England yet.
They could get it, but you go with the absolute, and the absolute is that they've beaten Buffalo.
Yeah, you want essentially the teams that are in front now, the Chiefs, the Ravens, the Patriots, to run away with their divisions.
Correct.
And then kind of leave everybody else.
I just, Derek, back to yesterday, I just felt like in the Colts-Texans game, it was one of those games that very early on, it was kind of a foregone conclusion what was going to happen. You didn't want to stub your toe. You didn't want to regress, and you didn't want to get hurt.
Yeah.
Great. Get the win.
There you
go
go.
into
Now
the
let's
bye
never
week.
talk about
never
it again.
talk about it again.
It's just one of those things, Jake. The Colts division games, we talked about this on the Indy Monthly Recap, me and Michael Rubino and Nate Miller. On a watchability scale, a Colts division game, if 10 is season 3 of The Sopranos and negative a billion is the current Indiana Pacers, the watchability-wise, the Colts and against an AFC South team is about a 2.5. Like, you know what you're getting when you sit down for that game, especially when they're playing a bad division opponent.
We have a lot to get to today, including giving out some of our awards. The IMCU Player of the Week, our Winners Drink
Easy
Milk.
one this week.
What's that?
Easy one.
Winners Drink
Don't you
Milk
think?
Winner of the week. I would agree with that. Our Sage Move of the Week. We'll also get to love that play, as well as the Quick Hits, which we always do.
Do not touch me.
It's where I hit Derek real quickly.
Nope.
We also get to Bite or Bullshit. A lot to get to. College basketball and pro basketball discussion as well. It is episode, what do we say, Derek? 64?
Yep.
Oh, we should call it the Beatles.
Why? I don't understand.
When I get old and losing my hair, then will you still need me? Will you still feed me when I'm 64?
Shake it up, baby, now.
No,
Shake
that's the
it up,
Beatles. That's
baby.
earlier. When I'm 64, what you're singing is Twist and Shout.
Okay.
Is a little closer to 64. This is the song of 64.
I can't get
No, that's the Rolling Stones.
satisfaction.
That's the Rolling Stones for sure.
George Harrison wrote that song.
No.
Surprised you didn't know that.
Okay.
You know, George Harrison of that group is like the most unheralded one, I feel like.
Of
Like,
the Beatles?
Yeah, because
Yes,
John
but he's
and,
not the Rolling Stones.
No, but John and Paul, like, they get all the credit, but George Harrison is much closer. He's kind of like the Steve Young of musicians, right? Where you forget how great
George
he
Harrison is John Adams, right? Everybody talks about Washington and Jefferson, and John Adams is right there.
was. Is that the beer guy?
Oh, my God.
The Tea Party, whatever?
We'll be back. It's episode 64 of Query and
Was he
Schultz.
president at some point? John Adams, beer guy?
It's here. The moment that will define you. So think of this moment as your moment. The one you've been waiting for. You were built for it. And so were we. WGU, the online university where ambition never rests.
Hey, I'm Jeff Saturday, and my favorite thing when I was a professional football player was Indiana. The Hoosier State always made me feel like family. That's why I trust Indiana's hometown mortgage lender, Bailey & Wood. This family-owned company not only gives back to the communities they serve, but also with their 5-star customer service, they can close on your dream home in days, not weeks. So remember, Indiana, you can always get your mortgages at a snap with Bailey & Wood.
Hey, Jeff, how does this look? Yay!
Not bad, bud, but let's stick to mortgages.
Indiana dairy farmers provide us with safe, pure foods for our tables. A responsibility that takes intuition, resolve, and determination to make sure their milk is good for you and delicious to taste. Their connection with our community runs deep, passed down through the generations, ensuring that milk is always available at your store. It's not easy being a dairy farmer, but the rewards have special meaning when you can feed Indiana's families every single day. Learn more at winnersdrinkmilk.com.
Welcome back. It's Corey and Schultz here on ISG Sports Network. Thanks so much for joining us.
got a
Jake's
Tootsie-
back from his potty break.
I got a Tootsie Roll outside.
You ate a Tootsie. We've got a show to do.
Well,
Like, that's like the hardest thing to eat. You couldn't.
what's hard
Pick
to eat about a
something-
Tootsie Roll?
Well, because you have to. For a while,
Good
it's super chewy. I thought that I was the only person that liked Tootsie Rolls. I thought Tootsie Rolls are one of those things that it's always left. Like, it's like the last thing eaten out of the candy dish, and I love them. Like, you like them too?
Who doesn't like Tootsie Rolls?
That's awesome. I never knew that about you.
Derek decides to select a candy that's been around since 1844 and take credit for being the
I
only
don't
person
think
who
Tootsie
likes
Rolls, is that, Jordan, do you like Tootsie Rolls? Rake, do you like Tootsie Rolls? Yeah, see, I don't think it's a popular candy at all. But
What?
it makes sense. I mean, you and I are best friends, so it makes sense that we would both kind of like the same sort of candy. But that surprises me because I've never met another Tootsie Roll appreciator.
Derek, you think that Sam Adams was a president? How can you possibly think that we would have anything in common?
Now, Sam Adams is the beer guy.
I understand.
I think. Right? Or is that John Adams that's the beer guy?
No, John Adams was a president of the United States. He was the second president of the United States. He died on July 4th, 1826, 50 years to the marking of the signing of the Declaration of Independence. He was an adversary politically of Thomas Jefferson, who they became very close with him, the third president.
Yeah, and then like Ben Franklin, there were a couple of others that were in there.
Ben Franklin was not a president. John Adams' son, John Quincy Adams, was also a president.
William Rutherford, or one of those, was in there. The guy that won the Civil War was in there. Well, that would have been later.
Ulysses S. Grant?
Grant was on there. Lincoln.
Are you just naming old presidents?
Well, I'm trying to think of. I used to be able to kind of name them in order, but you threw me off because you started talking about the beer guy, and I was like, wait a minute, it's not right. It's hard for me to do off the top of my head.
Clearly, surprised you forgot Madison or Monroe.
Jim Monroe. James was it James Monroe? Jim Monroe?
Yeah, Jim.
Okay, Jim.
His friends called him Jim.
He liked to be before. Yeah, right. Jimmy or Jim. This portion of the show brought to you by our friends at Bailey and Wood Financial Group. I do know that's Mike Wood. I know that name. Mortgages in a snap.
My hands are cold. That hurt.
888-350-HOME. BAWFG.com for
Ball
Bailey and Wood.
FG.
Ball FG is a good way to remember it.
BAWFG. Ball
13 branch locations in Indiana, but it's easier to just go online. But there are people that like to still do it in person, so chances are there's a branch location near you looking to refi, looking to get that approval. If you're in the home buying process, go ahead and call our friends at Bailey and Wood Financial Group. Dolphins surging, by the way. Mike Wood's Dolphins have won 5 in a row. They look like the worst team in the league early in the first half of the season. They've played pretty well here.
Bailey and Wood mortgage lender, mortgages in a snap. That was a good snap.
By the way, is it official? We're taping this right now. It's right around lunchtime. It's actually 11:58, so it's almost exactly noon as we're taping this. And I know that the polls are about to be released. It's a foregone conclusion, a fait accompli, if you will, that Purdue is going to be number 1 for the first time, but I was hoping that we could kind of declare it official on the show. And look, Jake, it's not even Christmas, right? I get it. It's the first week of December. People are talking about, well, it doesn't matter because if they don't make it in the tournament, Painter always sucks in the tournament. I think it's a big deal for Purdue to be number 1.
It's pretty cool. Derek, they're loaded. You know, we saw against Iowa in the game that one would assume cemented them as number 1 because you knew going into it they had to be still unblemished. And late in that game, I mean, Iowa did give them some pressure with their press. The Boilers did not handle it well. But the thing about Purdue, which is a sign of a great team, when you are a great team when certain players can have an off night and it is made up for elsewhere. And, you know, Stefanovic, for example, in the Iowa game wasn't necessarily shooting the ball like normal, but other players are hitting outside shots. And Purdue is just loaded. I mean, they literally can hit you in waves. I think one of the key elements for Purdue that is impressive is Trevion Williams, who is – I mean, he's an all-conference level center, and he's being asked to come off the bench and be kind of the spearhead of group number 2. Derek, I think there's going to be a place for him to possibly play in the NBA. He might not be the quickest or the most lateral guy in the world, but his ability as a passing big man to facilitate from the high or low post and get the ball where it needs to be is really impressive. And he's an impressive player. To me, Jaden Ivey's the guy that will get all the pub, and Zach Edey. But Trevion Williams, to me, is as important as anybody that Purdue has.
Yeah, that Iowa game, Keegan Murray didn't play, so I was a little bit shorthanded. He's their leading scorer. All of the starters, except for Ivey, played poorly. At least offensively, played poorly. And yet, you know, you had Trevion Williams come off the bench and play well, like he's been doing. Trevion Williams, I'm not going to list them all out, but if you were making a list of the best players in America, you're not getting super far down it before you get Trevion Williams is like probably one of the 30 or 40 best players in the country.
Yeah,
and he's coming off the bench.
Right.
I mean, and doing so willingly.
Correct.
Which is just crazy to me. I love the minutes that they got from Mason Gillis. who really kind of carried them through because
He
Purdue
got
was
a
really
key
flat there
rebound
early.
late in the game.
And that's the beauty of Purdue. I mean, they are, as you mentioned, they're 10 deep. They have 2 starting fives. They have so many good players, Jake, that even if 5 or 6 are off, you know that 2 or 3 are going to bring it. And that's exactly what they had against a good Iowa team. I mean, there's just not enough that you can say about their roster. We could talk about the Three Amigos and the top ends of some of those rosters, the Hummel, Moore, Johnson teams where you had all-league professional-level players. But Purdue's got that at the top of their roster with Edey and Williams and, of course, Jaden Ivey, who looks like a top 10 NBA pick. But I can't think of a Purdue team that has the top-to-bottom talent that this one does. I don't think that one exists in their history.
I'm looking to see if Purdue has made an announcement yet that they're number 1.
This will be – how about this for a stat? This will be the 1,222nd Associated Press men's basketball top 25 poll, dating back to 1949, its inception. And this will be the first time that Purdue has been number 1 in any.
How many?
The 1,222nd AP poll.
And how many teams have been number 1?
59 programs.
So they will be the 60th?
They will be the 60th.
Okay.
You might be surprised when you look at, like, Louisville's only been number 1 for 5 weeks in their history. Doesn't that surprise you?
Yes.
Like, I looked at that list and I was like, really? That shocked me. Because Louisville, they're easily one of the 10 historically best programs in college basketball history.
I would assume that Kentucky has been number 1 more than any other school, or North Carolina.
I actually think it's Duke.
Is it Duke now?
Let me go back and
I'm
look.
just going based
Duke was
on
like 140, Carolina was like 120-something, and Kentucky was like 120-something,
Okay.
I think. Gonzaga's actually really high up on the list. But the thing is that once Gonzaga's number 1, with that league that they play in, it's really hard for them to lose.
I would like to know this: who has been ranked number 1 the most weeks without ever having won a national title?
You want me to look?
Yes.
Okay, well, it's going to take me a second. Hang on.
I'm going to guess for that answer. I will go with. I don't think Memphis
Probably
State-
Gonzaga.
Yeah, you may be right. I don't think Memphis State's ever been ranked number 1. But Houston would possibly be up there because you've got the Elvin Hayes teams, and then I don't know if Elijah
you
Wan's
ready?
teams were ever won. Yep.
Duke's number 1, 144. They've
Okay.
won, obviously. UCLA, number 2, 134, because all through the 70s they were number 1. Kentucky, 125. North Carolina, 110. Kansas, Indiana, Cincinnati, Arizona, Ohio State, Gonzaga's 10th. UNLV's number 1, right? They've been number 1 for 32 weeks. Oh wait, sorry. Yeah, they won that great team. They lost in epically in 91, but they won in 90. Did San Francisco win with Bill Russell?
Yes.
Okay. UConn won, Michigan won, Nova won. Illinois number 1, right?
Correct.
They're 16th with Syracuse and Virginia. Has Stanford ever won at all?
Yes.
Like in the 40s or something?
41
Okay.
maybe?
DePaul is
Never won.
20th. UMass is
Okay.
tied for 20th. And then you've got more champions here. Florida, Michigan State, NC State, Arkansas, Georgetown, Houston, Kansas State, 28th? Wow.
Okay.
Didn't expect that. Oklahoma, St. John's, West Virginia, that basically rounds out your top 30.
Okay.
But here on the bottom of the list, teams that have been number 1, and Purdue hasn't, Wisconsin, Wichita State, South Carolina, St. Joe's, Oklahoma State, Iowa, Georgia Tech, St. Louis, Duquesne.
Georgia Tech is surprising.
Would it have been like one of those like Kenny Anderson era teams?
You're saying they've never been ranked number 1, right?
No, they were for 1 week.
Oh. I'm saying it's
Yes.
surprising they were not
Okay.
for more. I would imagine Georgia Tech would have been number 1 with Brian Oliver, Dennis Scott, and Kenny Anderson.
Yes, it was. Greg's giving us the thumbs up for that. And St. Joe's was the Jameer Nelson, Delonte West team in 2004.
Correct.
They were number 1. I don't know. South Carolina. Wichita must have been number 1 that one year where they lost to UK.
Ooh, that's right. When they were undefeated?
They must have been number 1 for a week.
I don't know.
that
They
season.
could have been number 1 when they had who
Xavier
was-
McDaniel?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. I don't know. Did they ever get to number 1
Cliff
with him, though?
Livingston, wasn't he there too?
Big Show from WWE
Yeah,
was
that's right.
at
Yeah,
Wichita
yeah.
State.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's kind of an
Um,
interesting list.
But at any rate, it is great for Purdue. And I look, regardless of whether or not they are truly going to be number 1 at the end of the year, assuming they stay healthy and stay the course. My one concern, I just had this conversation with Sam Rumsa last night. My one concern for Purdue is that they would get into the tournament and then in the second weekend go up against some team, like an Arkansas that hits 16 threes against them and just sets the house afire. You know what I mean?
I just wish, Jake, and I know that we're never going to do this, so I'm swimming upstream here. I wish we just wouldn't put everything into a single elimination, random draw tournament. Like, I just – Purdue can have a really great, successful season.
Popular aspect
it.
of American sports culture.
You want me to say –
literally –
you don't want me to do this.
Number one thing.
You don't want me to do this.
I've never heard this come out of you. 10 years of doing this together, I've never heard you stomp on the one thing that unifies all Americans for a month-long celebration of sport.
I love the NCAA
and
tournament.
accomplishment and
It's
and
my
all
favorite
of it.
thing. It's my favorite
competition.
Here, you want me to say this? It is a terrible way to determine a champion.
You just want every kid to have a trophy.
It's a terrible way to determine a champion.
To have
I love it. It's wildly entertaining. It's great. It's a terrible way to determine a champ.
But, Derek, there have been the NCAA tournament has been around since 1939.
Yep.
Now, I can't speak for the 40s, right?
Well, Indiana won one back in 40, unlike Purdue. Got no banners.
Is that yip? Again?
Sorry, we're two Indiana guys, and I'm actually making fun. Or at least IU grads.
For the most part, with rare exception, one of the team that wins it all is usually a team that was one of the best over the course of the year. And that's what makes it great. There are, I mean, when Indiana won it in 81, DePaul was the consensus number one team in the country. They got upset early in the tournament by St. Joe's. Indiana eliminated St. Joe's, and then guess what? Indiana goes on to the largest average margin of victory in tournament history.
But by the end of the year, Indiana,
at the time,
was the best team in the country.
They were a juggernaut,
right? So that's why they blew everybody out in that tournament. So that's why I'm not saying that those teams weren't deserving. Like even that really fluky UConn team in 2014, which was one of the worst champions of my lifetime. They deserve it. They're national champs. I'm not going to take that away from them, but I just hate that we put all the eggs. Suddenly that season becomes a failure because even with Crean, Jake, and I was guilty of it too. That Crean team in 2013, they were preseason number one. They were outright Big Ten champs. That was a great year. There was a lot of fun that year. But then we just make it about a bad night against these gigantic Syracuse guards against a gassed Indiana team, and so it turns into some sort of failure.
Now, my finest moment of our radio show, not finest, I'm not saying the circumstances were good, but where I took the most heat was when I opened the show the day after they lost to Syracuse and said, you just saw the ceiling of the Tom Crean era. It'll never go there again.
Yeah, and I remember I was saying you were being unfair and all that, but 4,000-point scorers, two of the top 5 picks in the NBA draft. I mean, it was
McDonald's
hard.
All-American point guard.
Yeah. Especially in hindsight, it's hard to see how you top that.
Switching back, though, from your lunacy of the NCAA tournament, back to the Colts win against the Houston Texans. It is time for our IMCU Player of the Week. That's Indiana Members Credit Union. Player of the Week. We do this each and every week, and we'll go back to the Colts game to honor it. But first, Derek, Indiana Members Credit Union, we love it because it means your money is staying right here in the Hoosier State, right? Not going out to some big out-of-town conglomerate or bank, but your money stays
Screw
here.
Those out-of-towners.
But there are also other things we love about IMCU.
Yep, low auto rates, free checking accounts. You can do all of it at imcu.com. See what IMCU can do for you.
IMCU.com, Indiana Members Credit Union. When it comes to our Player of the Week, or Player of the Game in this case, talking about, we'll use the Colts game against the Houston Texans. Derek, it's pretty obvious, right?
Kenny Momo.
Kenny Moore was spectacular. And look, Kenny Moore has been a really good player for the Colts, and he's been really probably the most consistent secondary player when you really look at it. But I think Indianapolis knew going into the game that they needed to just kind of send the message to Houston, like, look, it's not going to happen today. We came down here. We have a job to do. We're going to do it, and we're going to get the hell out. And Kenny Moore makes a big play to get things going for them early, and they really never look back.
It's kind of crazy. I can't even think of a comp to this, but you remember when, like, Kenny Moore first made the team and he made a couple of plays, and you're like, oh, this is cute, like this little short guy from a D2 school. Like, what a cute story. And you just figured that it was just kind of gonna peter out, right? And here we are in whatever the year this is for him, year 4.
Did you find that
is it
relatable?
year 5? Well, I think there's something. Yeah, year 5 for Kenny Moore. I find it relatable in that he is somebody that people underestimate, yet he's going to punch you right in the mouth if you do him wrong. Not that Kenny Moore's like a violent guy or anything like that, but he's a built, stocky guy.
Have you ever punched anybody in the mouth?
No, luckily for, I guess, America, no one has ever forced me to do something like that. Like, it's a lot like what I learned in karate, where you don't want to be the aggressor.
Karate.
You want to defend yourself if you have to, but self-defense is just that.
When did you take karate?
God, when didn't I take karate? Years and years.
Do you have a belt?
I have several.
Colors?
You know what? I'm not going to – you always do this where you, like, press me on my accolades, like you make me try to back it up. If you want me to back it up, we can go in the parking lot, and I'll back it up for you. I don't think you want that, but I will back it up for you.
Can you break
in person?
Can you break a piece of wood?
No, see, like this is like the dumbed down version of karate. It is a discipline. It is not about like me like doing tricks. Like it's not like a puppy dog. Like, here you go, boy. Like break this brick. Like I can and I have, but that's not what this is about.
Are you more of the like Cobra Kai gym, or are you more of the...
yeah, okay. Let's move on to the next thing because I'm not.
Have you watched Cobra Kai?
I'm not willing to do this.
Have you watched that show?
No, see that I knew you'd go Karate Kid because it's like right where your wheelhouse is.
No, I'm just saying. Have you seen
80s movies, crappy 80s movies, Revenge of the Nerds, all that crap. Fast Times at Ridgewood High or whatever it is.
Ridgemont, unbelievable.
You always mention that movie.
Oscar
too,
snub.
So I knew we were going to go there.
I'm sure they're thrilled to be part of this segment. But Indiana Members Credit Union, thank you for helping us announce our Player of the Week, and it is Kenny Moore, who was really, really good. Back to basketball. Talk Pacers next, Eric. What was that look?
I guess.
You look like somebody just karate'd you right there in the gut, right?
Gotta talk Pacers.
Do you have a gold belt?
Good.
Isn't yellow belt, isn't that the first thing you get just for signing up?
I told you I'm done talking about this chick.
Okay.
If you want a demonstration in the parking lot, I'll give you a demo.
Yeah, okay. All right, we'll continue with Pacers Talk next. It's Query and Schultz, ISC Sports Network.
It's here. The moment that will define you. So think of this moment as your moment. The one you've been waiting for. You were built for it. And so were we. WGU, the online university where ambition never rests.
Hey, I'm Jeff Saturday, and my favorite thing when I was a professional football player was Indiana. The Hoosier State always made me feel like family. That's why I trust Indiana's hometown mortgage lender, Bailey & Wood. This family-owned company not only gives back to the communities they serve, but also with their 5-star customer service, they can close on your dream home in days, not weeks. So remember, Indiana, you can always get your mortgages at a snap with Bailey & Wood.
Hey, Jeff, how does this look? Yay!
Not bad, bud, but let's stick to mortgages.
Indiana dairy farmers provide us with safe, pure foods for our tables. A responsibility that takes intuition, resolve, and determination to make sure their milk is good for you and delicious to taste. Their connection with our community runs deep, passed down through the generations, ensuring that milk is always available at your store. It's not easy being a dairy farmer, but the rewards have special meaning when you can feed Indiana's families every single day. Learn more at winnersdrinkmilk.com.
It's Query and Schultz. Thanks for joining us on this frigid day and week. This portion of the show brought to you by, I guess we got the TV screen, so I don't need this one. Brought to you by our friends at Chateau Kitchens. Thanks for that, Jordan. Make sure that stays up there. Is that going to stay? I wouldn't just put any object near the anvil like this because it's disrespectful, but I respect Chateau so much that I'm cool with putting it near the anvil. ChateauKitchens.com. You know we're back on right now. I know
I do.
You're texting Chad.
I'm looking
but
at no.
We have a show to do. It's taping. The cameras are on right now.
Just so everyone knows, and it will be old news by the time you're watching this. It is now official. Purdue is the number 1 team in the land.
Awesome. Glad to hear it.
Last time a team from Indiana was ranked number 1 in the country was when, Derek?
2013 Indiana.
Oh, I forgot about Indiana in 2013.
Right?
I was thinking 93 Indiana.
Oh, God, yeah.
I forgot about that 2013 team, yeah.
Well, that would have been, because that would, obviously, the late night years, and there would have been nothing else in there where Indiana would have been number 1 or any other Indiana team.
Yeah, Indiana was number 1 with that Oladipo team. I forgot.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, sorry.
I
As
don't
you
know
were.
if they start. I think Louisville was number 1 who won it all when they started the tournament, though. But Indiana was the preseason number 1 and was
they
number
had like
1.
3 weeks or
yeah,
something.
Indiana was number 1. I think they beat Michigan Super Bowl weekend, and they got back to number 1. I think Michigan was number 1, and they cooked them at Assembly Hall.
That's right.
And I think they became number 1 again after that, but ended up losing to like Ohio State.
It is
that
cool
was the senior night Ohio State.
But
remember that?
Yeah.
Where they lost on senior night, and Crean still had him like cut down the nets, and it was like the most awkward thing ever.
Yeah, that's right.
He's like, "What are we doing?" up
But
here?"
here's the thing. Not to turn it into something about Indiana. Matt Painter, Elliott Bloom, everybody at
Chris
Purdue. Chris
Foreman.
Foreman, Rob Blackman. It is not a season make. It is not a season make, I should say. But congratulations on Purdue. Well-deserved number 1 for the first time in school history.
I mean, it's just, for lack of a better term, it's effing cool. It's really cool to be number 1.
It is.
It's cool.
Very cool.
My team's number 1.
You know the one
It's
thing,
awesome.
Derek, from when we did our radio show together, and then we'll get to Chateau Kitchens. We did a lot of fun things during the course of our 10 years doing radio together. And I told Elliott Bloom, who's on the Purdue staff, this. I think the thing that I most missed when we couldn't do the radio show was the annual trip we would do to Mackey Arena while Purdue was practicing.
150%. That
It
was
was
my
cool.
favorite thing that we did.
It was always fun
Yeah.
hearing the sneaker squeaks, and then Painter would come over and talk Cubs with us. And listen, the players that would come over were always just super nice, polite, well-spoken, fun kids. I say kids, young adults. It was good. So congratulations for Purdue.
It was
being number 1.
we were the only people in there that weren't on the Purdue staff.
Correct.
So it was a closed practice, and it was a really cool. Like, if you think Hard Knocks is behind the scenes, I mean, like, those guys were like sweating on us. That's how close we were to the practice.
Afterwards, if you wanted to go and take a shower, Derek, you could have done so in your fabulous shower that was done by
Indeed.
Chateau Kitchens, because they're more than just kitchens, right?
Yeah, they can do anything on the interior of your home. So basements, bedrooms, staircases. They did a wet bar for some folks in Carmel as well. ChateauKitchens.com. You can see some of the before and after
What
pictures.
does wet bar mean?
Wet bar's like you have to add in the plumbing, so you have like a sink and all of that. It's not just a bar. You have like the actual like bartending.
Gotcha.
Yeah, taps and all of that.
What about the little the glass cleaner? You know, you just
yeah, I know some people that have that. I mean, I have a cousin that has FU money, and he has that in his basement. So
that's the second reference of that word on the show.
sorry, yeah, no, I'm not trying to. I know it's like PG-13, but yeah, you've heard that term, right? Where somebody has like.
Well, I heard that term a lot on Saturday night because I went to the Pacer game, or Friday night, and I heard that term being thrown around all over the place. Right?
I saw you in your seats where your feet touch the hardwood.
Well, that's correct.
Pretty good life.
When you go to sit somewhere, you sit in seats.
Yeah.
That's correct.
Well, some of us, like me, when I take my family, we sit up in the balcony. But
those are good seats.
some of us, we don't have to worry about the balcony.
Where did you see me? Were you were you looking from the balcony?
No, I was sitting at home, and I saw the screenshots of you on TV because you're often on TV.
Really?
Because you're so close to the action. Like, outside of the coaches and the players, the most FaceTime on any Pacers game is Jake Quarry.
Hardly.
Pretty much any home game, certainly.
Really?
I know you don't travel to the road games. I see you all the time.
Okay.
Yeah.
They have free gummy bears.
They
have no off switch.
They stink right now. At
They're
the time of this
struggling.
taping, now they play Washington tonight. They've got a homestand here where they've got the Wizards and Knicks and Mavericks. They've got somebody else that I'm missing that early next week. So they've got a little mini homestand here to get right, but they're 9-16. And honestly, Jake, I was telling Tony East this last night. I was on his podcast, the Locked On Pacers podcast. I don't think they're as bad as their record says because they've lost basically every close game. But the frustrating thing is that even if everything goes right for this Pacers team, they're not going anywhere.
Yeah, I think the time is now. It's arrived to make a switch, right?
Yeah.
And trade some.
Well, it's not going to be Brogdon because you can't.
Correct, but the player, and I have been a defender of this player because I think this player is asked to be a defender. And I think that we get caught up and lost in offensive numbers without looking at the totality of what they're being asked to do. But at this point with Miles Turner, I mean, Derek, they were well into the fourth quarter before he got his first rebound in that game on Friday night. And I like Turner, but, at this point, I don't know exactly where he does fit in, and I hate saying that. I think Sabonis is a really gifted player, and I think Sabonis is a very fiery player. I saw late in the game Sabonis getting all over Karis LeVert because LeVert missed a help-side defensive switch. My concern is that Karis LeVert, I think there are some chemistry issues with the Pacers. And when you say chemistry issues, I think people think that means, well, they got some bad guys and they don't like each other personally.
Yeah, nothing like that, I don't think.
On floor, sometimes just the way guys mesh and they're playing together and complementing one another, I worry that Karis LeVert is, in fact, Derek, my favorite phrase, a 20-25 guy, destined to score 20 points a game for a 25-win team over the course of his career. Ricky Davis, the proverbial 20-25 guy. I'm worried that's what Karis LeVert is because he can score points, but he really doesn't facilitate anybody else. That's not a knock. I don't know the guy.
Well, no one facilitates anybody. I think that's their problem. They've got a bunch of guys that need the ball.
I think that's fair, yeah.
And I think Zach Lowe of ESPN put it best where the Pacers basically have a roster full of guys that would be the fourth guy on a championship team. Maybe not Sabonis, but the rest of that group certainly.
This is what I think of the Pacers. If the NBA was a deck of cards, the Pacers don't have any aces, and they have maybe one face card. Domantas Sabonis is a solid jack, one-eyed jack. Then they have
now we're getting Indiana style.
Then they have a bunch of tens.
Yeah.
They don't have any. They don't have any threes or fours. They have a bunch of tens.
Well, it depends. I mean, if you're playing euchre, then that I would agree with that. But if you're playing setback, tens can be pretty valuable in game points. Do you play set? It's like euchre but better. It's a northeast version of euchre. It's a vastly superior card game to the beloved card game here in Indiana.
Let me ask you a question.
Mm-hmm.
What state do we live in?
We live in Indiana.
What state did I grow up in?
You grew up in Indiana.
What part of the country is Indiana?
The Midwest.
So why would I know about a Northeast card game?
Well, this is a national show. It's actually a pretty popular game nationwide, but it's the roots are in the Northeast. So it's a lot like pizza. Like
our friend Matthew in Maine is the only person listening to this that has ever heard of
Like we have, actually, he probably knows because I think it originated upstate New York. Like we have pizza here in Indiana, but it's vastly superior where I grew up. This card game, like euchre's fine. It's vastly inferior to the game that I played as a kid from the region of country that I lived in. Ooh, this is going to be
Did you not play Uno?
This is a rough show. We'll have to take this out in the karate.
Did you play War?
Part out. I played Risk.
Gin Rummy?
No, I don't play old lady card games.
Go Fish?
When I was like 6.
Old Maid?
When I was like 6.
Crazy Eights?
Crazy Eights was a fun game in high school.
Okay,
we used to play that in the high school cafeteria. Yeah.
Crazy Eights is good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Did you do the knock, 2-card knock?
No.
Or 1-card knock?
No, don't stop knocking. It's messing up the microphones. What were you talking about, the Pacers?
Yeah.
I don't like that.
I think people would rather hear about our card games.
You can tell when Rake is on our Chiron on the bottom there because he always puts in things like that. Like Jake Morris or Jordan would never type in what Rake's typing in there. It's usually anti-me and pro-you.
There we go.
Or pro-Indiana and anti-Connecticut.
He's right. Rake is right.
Which is unfortunate.
By the way, do you think I need a haircut?
No, I think you look fine.
I don't know. Like, what do you think? It looks a little thick up here, doesn't it?
No, it looks good.
I look like I have a ducktail. It's just like the one.
No,
like,
I like it.
I look like one of the guys in Back to the Future.
Unlike the Pacers,
guys that were outside the car when you know what I'm talking about?
From that movie 40 years ago?
Yeah, actually, it was about 40 years ago.
No,
wasn't it?
I don't know what you're talking
35 years ago, that movie, yeah.
about. Okay. 35 and change. It'll be 2022 in like a week, bud.
And it was, 37 years ago. And they were talking about something that was just 30 years before that.
Yeah. You couldn't bring up something more current like Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure?
That's a great movie, by the way.
Of course you like that movie. Time for Love That Play. It's brought to you by our friends at Love Heating and Cooling, 353-2141, love-hvacc.com. Chris and John Love. For all of your heating and I don't know why you need cooling, but heating needs.
Over 100 years of service. And listen, folks, I can tell you, when the furnace goes out, you don't want that because, like, I walked in here to the studio today and Derek had it at 62 degrees. Not comfortable. Love-HVAC.com, as Derek had mentioned, been around for over 100 years. How do you last that long? Easy. Customer service, great product, knowledge of the product, 24-hour on-call maintenance, 353-2141, the telephone number.
I thought this was an easy pick this week. Did you see how the Lions game ended?
I watched it.
Yeah. I love game-ending touchdowns. You see kicks at the buzzer a lot where a team will, bring the clock down in 2 seconds.
Last play of the game, right?
You don't see a lot of walk-off tuds. And the Lions had a walk-off tud with Jared Goff hooking up with St. Brown, and their fans going nutso. I just love it. That fan base is so great. They deserve to be happy once in a while. Like to get in their car, drive home, and be happy.
That game, as you know, the Colts game ended, and CBS then said, like, we're now going to take you to the Lions game. And Minnesota had just scored.
Yeah.
So Detroit gets the ball back. So I texted Dr. Mottman because he's from my cardiologist.
Yeah, Michigan State and Lions, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
He's a huge Lions fan. And I said, get to CBS. He says, watching. This is the greatest Detroit Lions game of the last 5 years.
Oh, God.
And then he said, Jared Goff is a hero. Winning streak into the playoff run of 2022 has begun. Take what you can
can't
get.
you just picture, Jake, you go up there every year for the Belle Isle race, and it's this city that has this proud history that had fallen on hard times and is still trying to pick itself back up. But you get in your car every Sunday after like a 27-point loss to Aaron Rodgers, and you're driving past the unmanicured medians with the grass this high. Like, it's just such a all these abandoned buildings.
I know.
It's a depressing thing. Like, those fans deserve to be happy once in a while.
Yeah, it was cool for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, have you seen Jared Goff's significant other?
No, but he played out west and makes millions of dollars, so I'm assuming he's doing pretty well.
I'll pull that up for you during the break.
Okay.
You'll find out that he probably was less than concerned about whether or not they actually got that win yesterday. You know what I mean?
Well, all those guys are doing pretty well. I'm pretty sure.
He's winning at the game of life. Speaking of winners, our American Dairy Association of Indiana winner of the week is next, Eric.
That's right. Yeah, we still have quick hits to get to and Bite or Bowl Bleep.
Quick hits.
Do not touch me.
You
You want that demo, karate demo, I'll give it to you. It's Corey and Schultz.
Okay.
IC Sports Network. Stick around.
Indiana dairy farmers provide us with safe, pure foods for our tables. A responsibility that takes intuition, resolve, and determination to make sure their milk is good for you and delicious to taste. Their connection with our community runs deep, passed down through the generations, ensuring that milk is always available at your store. It's not easy being a dairy farmer, but the rewards have special meaning when you can feed Indiana's families every single day. Learn more at winnersdrinkmilk.com.
It's here. The moment that will define you. So think of this moment as your moment. The one you've been waiting for. You were built for it. And so were we. WGU, the online university where ambition never rests.
Hey, I'm Jeff Saturday, and my favorite thing when I was a professional football player was Indiana. The Hoosier State always made me feel like family. That's why I trust Indiana's hometown mortgage lender, Bailey & Wood. This family-owned company not only gives back to the communities they serve, but also with their 5-star customer service, they can close on your dream home in days, not weeks. So remember, Indiana, you can always get your mortgages at a snap with Bailey & Wood.
Hey, Jeff, how does this look? Yay!
Not bad, bud, but let's stick to mortgages.
Derek, we are back on the ISC Sports Network, and it's our favorite time of the day because we get to see Sage.
turned around, I forgot there was a big owl. One-eyed
WGU
owl.
Indiana brings us our Sage Move of the Week.
Awful.
Listen, folks, whether you are thinking about going back to school, maybe you left something on the table there, or you just want to get a different degree. Maybe your boss told you that you could get a promotion with a certain degree, or it might be that you want to go to school for the first time. WGU Indiana is Indiana's largest online accredited university, wgu.edu/Indiana, because ambition never rests. And if you have the ambition of either completing the degree, maybe just setting out for the first time, work on your own schedule. That's the beauty of WGU. Again, Indiana's largest online accredited university. And look, owls are nocturnal, and their head is always on a swivel. They can move it all the way around. There's fabulous videos that people tweet to Derek of owls. That's because Sage always has his eye on the next thing around the corner, and you might too when it comes to your education. You can work around the clock with WGU.edu. Our Sage Move of the Week, Derek, is?
I chose, and this was crazy, it feels like it was 2 months ago because it happened right after we taped the show on Monday, but Brian Kelly, late Monday night, ends up leaving for LSU, which was surprising. And Notre Dame's in this spot where, do they go after Luke Fickle? Do they even go out there for, Matt Campbell or whatever, insert sexy coach name here? And I think they kind of looked around and said, hey, we've got this hotshot defensive coordinator that everybody believes is someday going to be a head coach, and he's young and rising. Players love him. Let's just go with him. And I think Marcus Freeman, it's not a move that comes without risk because he has no head coaching experience, which I don't think has ever happened at Notre Dame, where they've hired somebody with zero head coaching experience. But he's believed to be the next big thing and has climbed his way up the ladder and done well at all of his spots, including Purdue on Darrell Hazel's staff, if you want kind of a local tie-in. But to make you feel old, 35 years old, now the new head coach at Notre Dame with a 29-year-old offensive coordinator in Tommy Rees.
Okay, think about this, Derek. Who are the coaches that have made big splashes in the last handful of years or become like the up-and-coming super sexy coaches? List some of them off the top of your head.
College football-wise?
Yeah. Ryan Day?
I guess that's kind of a similar situation, I think, to what Notre Dame entered into, where it was going to be his time at some point.
Luke Fickle?
Yeah,
Okay.
sure. I mean, he's been the hotshot name for a while.
How did Luke Fickle get his first head coaching experience?
He was an assistant on Ohio State staff, right?
And there was an unexpected departure of a coach, and he was put in.
Okay.
Right?
Was it Tuberville that he replaced?
Tressel. You talking about Luke Fickle? Oh,
yeah.
In Cincinnati?
No,
you mean?
Fickle was interim at Ohio State, though,
Okay.
right?
Okay. What I'm saying
Fickle was
is this.
interim before Urban.
Correct.
Okay.
What I'm saying is Ryan Day
Yeah.
was an assistant coach. Ohio State had a situation where Jim Tressel was suspended. They needed a coach. They elevated him into the head coaching position. He got his feet underneath him. They decided to hire Urban Meyer instead, so he leaves, becomes a head coach at Cincinnati.
Sure.
Lincoln Riley. At Oklahoma, Stoops leaves, assistant coach, elevated, becomes the head coach. But who is this guy? He's now worth $100 million at USC. Ryan Day, assistant coach, Ohio State. Urban Meyer has to sit out a few games. Ryan Day takes over. Urban Meyer then leaves. We're going to elevate Ryan Day. Who's this guy? Ryan Day, big hot coach now. Dabo Swinney, Clemson, 2 of the last 6 national titles. Coordinator, Clemson, who's this young guy? Nobody's heard of him. They make a coaching change. What are they going to do? They fired their coach. Well, they're just going to elevate this Dabo guy. And then boom, Dabo Swinney. So my point being, there is precedent right now to show that this can be, in fact, the right move for Notre Dame. And I think you saw the player reaction. If you didn't see it, they were obviously gung-ho about it. He's a young guy. He can recruit, you would think, because he's young and relatable and he's cool. I think it's a good move.
Yeah,
Sage move indeed.
They mirror their town in a lot of ways. Like, it's a very, Notre Dame, kind of like South Bend, it's just kind of, it's never been sexy, right? And not that it's super sexy now, because there's an element of Notre Dame, a private Catholic school in northern Indiana, that's never going to be sexy.
Right.
But there's just like an energy now with Freeman and Rees that I think, Brian Kelly did a great job. He fixed a broken program, and he deserves all the credit in the world for everything that he did for Notre Dame. But he was very much like a CEO type. He was a prickly guy who was not ever beloved by anyone. I mean,
Right.
people love that he won.
He's a heck of a coach. There's no doubt that
But
Brian
but
Kelly's a
he
good
didn't. He
coach.
lacked that aspect. Whereas I think there's more of an emotional connection if things really go well for Freeman.
Which happens first? Freeman gets Notre Dame into the college football playoff, or Brian Kelly wins a national title at LSU?
Well, I think it's inherently an easier path for Notre Dame, especially with expansion inevitable, to make the playoff. Than it'll take Kelly. Jake, it's so hard because and we can actually seg now into college football every time. And I was ready to do it this year. Every time I watched Alabama this year, I was like, this is it. Like they did not look good. They struggled against LSU. They struggled against Tennessee. They should have lost to Auburn. And then they just get in these games where you're ready to say there's no chance that they're going to do it. Not this time. And then here it is. It's Lucy with the football.
You know what? I wonder what part of it is. I wonder if part of it is this. I wonder if part of it is Alabama is loaded with upper echelon 5-star NFL-bound recruits. And I wonder, no matter how much Nick Saban or the coaching staff coaches them up and tells them and prepares them for Arkansas and for Auburn and for whatever else, in the reality, those are regular season games on CBS, whatever else. And I wonder how many of those players are like, I didn't come to Alabama to play this to worry about this game.
Yeah.
I didn't come here to worry about Tennessee. I came here to play in the playoff. I came here to play at Mercedes-Benz Stadium in front of 65,000 people. I came here to be on the biggest of stages. And then once they get to that point, they flip that switch.
I think it's tough too, Jake. You're getting everybody's best shot. It's everybody's Super Bowl.
But now, I don't disagree, but I get so tired of Notre Dame fans. You'd think you understand is when Notre Dame plays, they're playing everybody's best game of the year. Everybody circles Notre Dame. You think that doesn't happen for Alabama or Clemson or Georgia?
Yeah, no, there are a bunch of programs you'd say that about, but Alabama they're the Death Star.
They are. Now,
I mean,
I thought, Derek, when
for
the
lack of
college
a better
football
comparison.
rankings came out, and of course we now know it's Alabama 1,
It took care of itself like it usually does.
but I thought Georgia should have been 4.
You wanted to avoid that in the first round again.
That's why you put Michigan 1.
Yeah.
Michigan and Alabama's resumes to me are a wash because Alabama has the best win by winning over Georgia in the SEC
I think
title.
you can make an argument for Michigan number 1. I agree.
Alabama has the best win, but Alabama also has the most egregious loss. Michigan, come on like a house of fire, beat Ohio State, granted at home, blowouts for their conference title, and their loss is to Michigan State, which was a close game. Georgia, who I think is dynamite, and I think their front four defensively is as good as you find in college football, but Georgia's resume,
It's not that good.
right.
Yeah, it really wasn't that good.
Georgia has no signature win,
No. I mean,
and they have a loss.
When Clemson's your best win this year,
I know.
Clemson's fine. Like they're a good team.
No
This
argument.
is not anything close to a
Cincinnati,
vintage Clemson team.
Georgia's the only of the 4 that is not a conference champion.
Yeah.
Georgia should have been 4th. But neither here nor there.
But at the same time, Georgia dominated people this year.
They
Like,
did.
and that's something that, Cincinnati struggled at times with
Now,
in a couple of those games.
the
like
best
Tulsa
case scenario.
and, Navy and a couple others.
The best case scenario is unfortunate. The best case scenario now is going to be, I was going to say, for the city of Indianapolis, kind of want Georgia in because it's close enough for people to drive, but they're going to have to get a hotel room. And I think Georgia is so thirsty for their first national title in 40-plus years that they're going to show up, even though they've been in a national title game. I think Georgia fans would arrive. Michigan and Cincinnati, though, can you imagine if Michigan is playing Cincinnati in the national championship game in Indianapolis?
But that's the only, and it's very unlikely that's the
but
case.
Cincinnati, I think a lot of fans would drive in and drive out.
That'd be the only rough one, but you can't lose here. I mean, Alabama, Georgia, or Alabama, Michigan would be a monster game with a monster fan bases.
But would Alabama
coming
fans
in
show
here.
up for it? I mean, to them, it's like, I'll save my money and next year and go to Pasadena.
It's the national championship game.
I get it.
If it's the Fiesta Bowl, then probably. Now, are Ohio State fans going to do everything they can to see them play Utah and Pasadena? I mean, if I'm an Ohio State fan, I'm saying, I think I'm going to sit that one out.
How about Speaking of bowl games and traveling and everything else, you mentioned Notre Dame is now in.
It'd be a nice test, a really good Oklahoma State defense.
During the Fiesta, right?
Yep.
So Notre Dame to the Fiesta
I wanted
Bowl.
them to get Michigan State.
Purdue now going to the Motor City Bowl to take on Tennessee.
They got to be salty. Of the worst case scenarios for Purdue.
The Cheez-It Bowl. They got the two little grains.
Of the worst case scenarios for Purdue, going back to Nashville to play Tennessee in a virtual road game, I would have much rather them gone to Vegas to play a crappy Pac-12 team.
What's interesting is Mike Babinski and the Purdue football program get to now go and personally thank the school that made them fork out a ton of money to keep Jeff Brom, right?
They could do that. Why do Tennessee fans wear orange all the time? To go to the games Saturday, to hunt on Sunday, and to pick up trash the rest of the week.
Is this an old one you've kept in your head?
Yeah, I heard that once like 20 years ago from a Florida grad, and I was like, that's pretty good.
Does Florida not wear
orange?
You
know what? I actually think the people that I know from Tennessee, it's a very similar, obviously it's Southern. It's a very similar vibe to Indiana. Like, people are real proud of where they're from, and they're real laid back and kind of cool.
I like the state of Tennessee.
I think it's cool.
Chattanooga's a great
city.
It's
definitely different.
It is, but it's cool.
Like, I went to Franklin, and there's a big Confederate monument, and they're selling Confederate flag wallet holders. This little old lady, hey, welcome to town. And I'm just like, oh, you've got all this Confederate flag stuff in here. Cool. Like, it's a different culture. But I've always Nashville's such a cool town.
Cool.
It's exhausting, but it's a cool town.
Ball State also in a bowl game,
right?
Yeah,
Camellia.
Correct.
Against, help me here, Rake. Who are they playing?
State.
How'd you know that?
How'd I know that?
Did you bring it up on your whatever, like, it's time for the Big O tires, blah, blah, blah? Did you bring it up on that? Is that how you knew?
Sounds like somebody's been listening to the morning
show.
Well,
that was an element before you took over. I was listening to that back when it was Kevin and whatever, Brendan King, or that rotating panel of people that he had in.
Okay.
Yeah. Is that where you got it from? Just be honest.
No.
That's 100% where you got it from. Yeah.
Derek,
I forgot. You got a daily show, so I
pay
forgot
attention
that
to local sports. Why would I not?
You don't pay attention to anything, but Kevin does, and through osmosis, you pay attention.
Time now for our American Dairy Association Winners Drink Milk Winner of the Week. Of course, the American Dairy Association, you know how hard the farmers throughout the state of Indiana are working that are producing and making it possible for the American Dairy Association milk products that you enjoy. Derek, when it comes to a workout, let me get the milk facts here. Hang on. Here's your – these are yours. I don't need that.
Oh, cool. Thank you.
Let me find the milk facts here. Now, you might say to yourself, Jake, you've been doing this 64 times. 64 of these shows you've been doing. How do you not remember the milk facts? Well, it's simple, because there are so many different nutrients and vitamins inside of milk that it becomes actually confusing to keep them all straight, because you're getting such an allotment of nutrients. For example, did you know that after a workout, so if you're going to go work out, like I'm going to go from here, go to the gym and work out. Do you know I work out, Derek?
I did, unfortunately.
Low-fat chocolate milk right here, which I'm having. Nature's recovery drink for athletes. That's because it contains, Derek, would you like to guess, as much calcium as how many cups of spinach?
2.
10.
Oh, wow.
10 cups of raw spinach.
Not expecting that.
As much potassium as what popular fruit?
A mango.
No, that too. A banana.
Okay.
And as much vitamin A as how many hard-boiled eggs?
Ooh, I hate hard-boiled eggs. 2.
That is correct.
I love all eggs, but I hate them hard-boiled.
Well, you don't have to have them hard-boiled if you've got yourself low-fat chocolate milk.
That's right.
From the American Dairy Association of Indiana. Derek, our winner drink milk winner of the week is?
I might make a change, and I think I actually picked them last week too. But I was going to say Cincinnati, because all you can ask for is a chance, and that's what Cincinnati's going to have. Even though I do wonder, had Oklahoma State beaten Baylor, I do kind of wonder if they would have still – I think they would have kept Cincinnati in.
I would agree. I think
but, who knows?
Well, it's funny because Oklahoma State – late in that, like I turned it on and I'm watching Oklahoma State, and Oklahoma State has
first and goal with right. You thought, okay, here it is.
Here you go. And then once Oklahoma State got beat, and then I turned on Cincinnati Houston, and Houston scored on their first drive, and I'm like, here we go, man. Chaos is ensuing, and Notre Dame and Ohio State are going to sneak in the back door.
Yeah.
And obviously, things restored itself. I think Cincinnati was going to be in because they're undefeated and they were already in the 4. I'm going to give my winner's drink milk to actually Michigan.
Yeah, that's what
because
I was thinking too.
Jim Harbaugh has been through the ringer.
How you like me
He's
now?
a unique dude. But look, when it came down to it, Michigan's playing really well. They absolutely shellacked Iowa for the Big Ten championship. We know what they did in doing all of America a favor by beating Ohio State. And in addition to that, I was downtown Saturday night. There were Michigan and Iowa fans there. Everybody was great. The Michigan fans. Did you know that they have a song they all sing? I didn't know that.
Dun, 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 dun. Let's go blue. That one?
No. You know how, like, at Fenway Park they do Sweet Caroline?
Oh,
At Wisconsin,
Mr.
they do Jump
Brightside.
Around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't know about that until a couple of months ago.
They played that in a bar downtown Indy Saturday night.
everybody
and
sings it at
everybody
the top
stopped
of their
and started
lungs.
singing it.
Yeah.
And I got to admit, it was fun. It was cool, right? It's
Yeah.
odd to have a song like that you have like 8-year-olds with their parents singing at Michigan Stadium when it's about a woman having an affair on a guy, but that's cool.
Yeah.
But it was fun.
Yeah, good for Michigan.
So kudos to Michigan.
Can't stand them, but good for them.
What's wrong with Michigan? They got great helmets.
Yeah, I hate the arrogance, but good for them and good for Harbaugh.
It's a great school, Derek. One of the great public institutions in all of America.
Oh, yeah, no, I've heard all
Sheila
about
DeMars, one of the smartest girls
Heard
I
all
graduated
about
from high school with, went to Michigan. Go
Quick
Michigan.
hits, bite or bowl bleep, and we will wrap up the show next. Gonna chug some milk first.
Quick hits.
Corey and Schultz, ISC Sports Network.
Indiana dairy farmers provide us with safe, pure foods for our tables. A responsibility that takes intuition, resolve, and determination to make sure their milk is good for you and delicious to taste. Their connection with our community runs deep, passed down through the generations, ensuring that milk is always available at your store. It's not easy being a dairy farmer, but the rewards have special meaning when you can feed Indiana's families every single day. Learn more at winnersdrinkmilk.com.
Hey, I'm Jeff Saturday, and my favorite thing when I was a professional football player was Indiana. The Hoosier State always made me feel like family. That's why I trust Indiana's hometown mortgage lender, Bailey & Wood. This family-owned company not only gives back to the communities they serve, but also with their 5-star customer service, they can close on your dream home in days, not weeks. So remember, Indiana, you can always get your mortgages at a snap with Bailey & Wood.
Hey, Jeff, how does this look? Yay!
Not bad, bud, but let's stick to mortgages.
It's here. The moment that will define you. So think of this moment as your moment. The one you've been waiting for. You were built for it. And so were we. WGU, the online university where ambition never rests.
Wrapping up the show here on this Monday. I guess you could be watching.
Have you
this
done
on
your
a
wrapping
Tuesday
yet
or on
for
a
the
Wednesday.
holidays? Derek?
No, we're all done. We just haven't wrapped, which is the worst part.
By the way, speaking of that, if you go to my Twitter account, which is twitter.com/JakeQuery, that's JakeQuery, that's the easiest place to find it. They have what's called a pinned tweet, which is right at the top, and I've got a link for it. But the Children's Bureau of Indianapolis, which we've gotten to know, Derek, over the years, they are in need of people to sponsor the different children that they have. They have over 500 kids that have a Christmas wish list, and they're very modest lists. No kid on Christmas morning or whatever holiday it is that you might celebrate, but no kid during the holidays should go without a gift or the knowledge that there are people that care. So you can go, you can sponsor a child, pick one out, and go and do shopping, and then there's a drop. They make it very, very easy.
Yeah.
But they are in need of people to sponsor a child. So
Ashley and I are actually doing that.
I did it as
Guy
well.
named G, and we got him some joggers and a couple of gift cards.
That's cool.
That he wanted. Big Purdue football fan. So
Really?
I actually, I don't want to put him on the spot here because he doesn't have to come through on this. But we know a guy, Marty, up at Purdue that's been an equipment manager for 100 years.
Greatest guy.
He always works in the bowels of Mackey. So I texted him when I saw that thing for G, and I was like, hey, we're sponsoring this kid at Children's Bureau. Do you have any, outdated or old Purdue, because they cycle through logos and
of course.
slogans and whatever else. Do you have any old gear, XL? And he said, yeah, I'll get you a box.
Yeah,
so,
that's cool.
We're gonna drop that off as well at Children's Bureau.
Very cool.
Mm-hmm.
But they are in need of sponsorship. So if you could do so, we would be absolutely most obliged. And I've always tell people, if the concern is just simply being able to drop the gifts off, if you send me a direct message or you can email me, which is, remember, I have a Hotmail.
Yeah, that's right.
I also have me.com. Jake
Me
Query
too.
at
Yeah,
me.com.
you can message me. Jake and I are both in Midtown, so it's real easy for us to shoot down to MLK and get that over to
I'll
the
pick
Postal
up
Children's Bureau.
whatever gifts you have and take them down.
Short drive from Midtown.
If you do it. Time for our quick hits.
Let's do it. Michael Penick has entered the transfer portal. No surprise there. His Indiana career, unfortunately, unceremoniously comes to an end, and it's too bad because he had a hell of a 2020.
Talented
and
player.
Some high highs, but the injuries just kind of kept getting in the way for him.
And I saw a lot of people that were like, actually, I didn't see anybody that had ill will towards him. I think people understood why he left. But, but then Indiana's also getting players in from the transfer portal. And so it's, people like, oh, man, another announcement. Look, they're transfers. I mean,
yeah.
The
transfer portal giveth, and the transfer portal taketh away.
That's correct.
As they say. Despite performing well in a win over the Jets on Sunday, the Eagles are still saying that Jalen Hurts is their QB1 over Gardner Minshew.
I
Nice game
believe
for
that.
Minshew.
Minshew was very effective.
The Jets, but still.
But Jalen Hurts offers a little bit different dynamic with his legs.
Yeah. I think we'd agree has more upside and talent. But Minshew is about as good as it gets for a backup.
He is. He's a good player.
Yeah, or a spot starter.
Good
mean,
player.
I would assume that he's 10 years from now, Gardner Minshew will still be playing quarterback.
He'll be the
NFL
Ryan
for somebody.
Fitzpatrick of the next era.
100%. Mark Turgeon had a weird – did you see this
Yeah, what was-
resignation? He just signed an extension in the spring.
What happened there?
I don't know. I didn't dive into it any further. His Maryland teams – Maryland basketball is Texas football, where they're fine. I Texas had a bad year. They're fine. They win Texas usually wins 7 or 8 games. But my God, you should be a national contender at a program like that every year.
Yeah.
There is no reason why Maryland shouldn't consistently be a top 10 to 15
I would
program.
agree because it's in a good recurting area.
Oh, yeah. It's got
lot
a
of
great history. Their
Yeah.
facilities are awesome. The campus is amazing.
Yeah.
It's a great school. But he really he didn't squeeze much juice out of those. They had a really good team the COVID year, I think, where they were a top 10
I
level
think
team.
Turgeon's a nice, solid coach.
He's fine. He was there for a long time. He was there for 10 years.
He would be the perfect coach at Minnesota.
He was what he did at Maryland, I think was very similar to what Steve Alford did at Iowa.
That's fair.
It was fine. I
That's
don't
fair.
think he did a bad job. I just don't think he did a great
Right.
job.
That's fair.
But obviously there are more program constraints at Iowa than at Maryland.
Right.
Maryland, you're the program. That's it for Quick Hits. Ready for Bite or Boldly?
I am ready for Biden.
Let's do it. If you're new to this is what we do. I give a statement. Jake and I go back and forth whether we buy it or it's bold bleep. You ready?
Basically, Derek has a statement, and then I tell him he's full of bullshits.
I'm the one that preps the entire show, so this segment would not exist without me.
Mm-hmm.
Statement 1, this is the most wide-open NFL season of recent memory.
Oh, 100% correct.
Bite or bold bleep?
Yeah. No,
what would even your Super Bowl be right now? Gun to your head. Who do you like?
out of the AFC, I would take New England or the Chargers.
Yeah, I think the Chargers and Colts to me are the two most dangerous in the other pile.
The Colts are up there, man.
I still don't think I'd want to face the Chiefs.
NFC,
I know offensively.
NFC, we're sleeping on it, but you got to go with Arizona.
Yeah, I think I'd take Dallas.
Okay,
I really like healthy Dallas.
Healthy Dallas is
healthy
pretty good.
Dallas. I think is good as much as oh my God.
Doesn't healthy Dallas sound like it'd be the name of a dancer?
I will drive.
Guys, put your hands together for a healthy Dallas on stage too.
There was that movie. There was a retro movie that was pretty famous involving a gal named Dallas. Named Debbie, involving Dallas. Yeah. And then they did a remake in 2000, which wasn't as good. The dialogue was flawed. I thought was not as it was not as compelling of a storyline.
You saw the remake?
Yeah, I did.
Did you see the original?
I actually downloaded it on my dorm computer. It was a Dell.
Did you freeze that also?
No, that was a previous computer where I had a bit of a virus situation with the Pamela Tommy Lee video.
You were not the only one that got a virus from Tommy Lee. I can assure you of that.
Here it is, and I clicked on it. I was like, all right, and then the light started blinking, and the computer started smoking, and I was like, uh-oh.
Well,
should not have clicked on that.
Not the only one that started smoking when it involved Tommy Lee. I can assure you of that.
On that.
Okay.
Did a lot of stupid things when I was in my teens. Statement 2,
Okay.
the Pacers need to make a trade before the deadline.
Yeah, I would say that.
It's not until early February,
I
so they
would
got
say
some
I'd
time.
buy that, though. I don't know. It's going to be.
I agree with you, Jake. Like, split up Sabonis and Turner, right?
Yeah,
Pick
I would
one.
agree.
I don't care who they trade. Pick one. Just let's make some sort of a change.
I think at this point, Sabonis probably has more trade value, but
I
would
think
also.
Turner does.
I would look to see if there's interest in LeVert.
I think you're going to get like 20 cents on the dollar. I feel bad for Pritchard because you did what you had to do. It was either lose Oladipo for nothing or take that. And so, you took a player. I actually thought LeVert had a little bit more potential than what he's shown. I've been a little bit disappointed overall. Or he's just, he's kind of a jag to me. Just a guy.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Statement 3. It's not raining today, is it? Yet?
Yeah, it's drizzly.
Okay. 40 and rainy is the worst type of weather, Biden or Bobley.
1,000% correct.
Yeah. I was in a really heated argument with a friend about this because he was insisting that 20 and snow was worse.
Well,
but a lot of times it's like bright when it's 20 and
but
snow.
I will say, Derek, snow when it's raining, you don't have to get up and like warm your car up and shovel it off.
Yeah.
I mean, the first snow of the year where you forget that means you got to account for 20 minutes extra to get to work.
That's true.
That's a bit of a buzzkill.
I mean, I'm surprised you don't have a heated garage. I guess I just don't like being wet. So regardless of temperature, I don't want to be wet. Like wet shoes, wet coat. You get in the car, it's a wet umbrella, and then the droplets get all on you when you bring it in because you're like, ugh, like that, and you're closing it.
I hear you.
Awful. I'd rather have snow than 40 and rain, for sure. Thanks to all of our great sponsors for today.
That would be the American Dairy Association of Indiana,
Indeed.
WGU Indiana,
WGU, American
Love
Dairy.
Heating and Air Conditioning, the
Chateau.
American Dairy Association of Indiana, Chateau Kitchens, Bailey and Wood Home Mortgages.
And shout out to Only Indy Tickets. This is a Colts bye week, so they're not on this week, but normally a sponsor of ours.
But we're back, even though it's a bye week. We don't take the week off, right?
No, I think we're going to do the last 2 shows of the year are next Monday and the Monday after that. So what is today? The
We
6th?
can tape them all at once. are we?
13th and 20th. We're off the 27th.
Okay.
To enjoy the holidays with our families.
All right. Sounds good.
So that'll be a lot of fun. For Jordan Shue and Greg Rakestraw, and also for Jay Query, unfortunately, I'm Derek Schultz. Hope you guys have a great week, and we will see you next time on Query and Schultz, ISC Sports Network.
Throw it up for Tillman. Whoa, my goodness. 122.60 for Penn. What a swim. 6 of them.
It's here. The moment that will define you. So think of this moment as your moment. The one you've been waiting for. You were built for it. And so were we. WGU, the online university where ambition never rests.
Hey, I'm Jeff Saturday, and my favorite thing when I was a professional football player was Indiana. The Hoosier State always made me feel like family. That's why I trust Indiana's hometown mortgage lender, Bailey & Wood. This family-owned company not only gives back to the communities they serve, but also with their 5-star customer service, they can close on your dream home in days, not weeks. So remember, Indiana, you can always get your mortgages at a snap with Bailey & Wood.
Hey, Jeff, how does this look? Yay!
Not bad, bud, but let's stick to mortgages.
Indiana dairy farmers provide us with safe, pure foods for our tables. A responsibility that takes intuition, resolve, and determination to make sure their milk is good for you and delicious to taste. Their connection with our community runs deep, passed down through the generations, ensuring that milk is always available at your store. It's not easy being a dairy farmer, but the rewards have special meaning when you can feed Indiana's families every single day. Learn more at winnersdrinkmilk.com.
Oh, baby, that got me awake. The worm has turned in Logansport. Look at that play.
The lob underneath, and if you don't get any picture perfect more than that.
That young man will be glad that our cameras were here for tonight's contest.